Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back.
That's awesome.
I really shouldn't try and do my Irish accent. Greetings, whiskey folk. Welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. I am your host, Adam Bradshaw, and I have as my special guest host today the one and only Norm, the IT guy, who has finally joined us. The prodigal son has returned.
I'm back.
Yeah. Since the last time you saw Norm on this channel, he has overtaken me on his own YouTube channel. Do you want to say a couple of words about that?
Old games, old guy. If you like video games, come and visit.
There's a surprisingly large sort of Venn diagram crossover of whiskey lovers and video game fans. So, if you like the idea of this guy playing some classic games, then go check out his channel on YouTube as well. There'll be a link in the description.
Ooh.
But today, we're playing a little game of our own.
Excellent.
Are you intrigued and confused by this tasting right in front of you? I hope so.
It is St. Patrick's Day today.
It is. We are recording this on St. Patrick's Day. All being well, I'll be releasing it soon after St. Patrick's Day. Maybe even on St. Patrick's Day if technology agrees with me today. I've got the IT guy with me, so hopefully we'll make it work. But yeah, so this is one of our tournaments that we do here in the Dram Association, where we pit 8 whiskies head-to-head in a sort of a bracketology-style tournament to see which one comes out on top. And we did this tasting last night at time of recording, and I have the results for that tasting that we'll show you. But we're going to get Norm to go through that exact same process and find out which one Norm thinks is the best whiskey out of these 8. He doesn't know what any of them are. I do. I will taste along as well. I've got some glasses over here so I can be a little bit of a guide. If Norm gets stuck. But this is what the bracket looks like, so I'll show you a screen. And as you can see, we're going to have 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4, 5 versus 6, and 7 versus 8. And once we've done that, we'll get round to the semi-finals. So let the first round begin. 1 versus 2, Norm. What do you think we've got there? So this is number 1.
Number 1 and number 2.
So these are all Irish whiskies.
They're similar in color.
Yeah, one's a touch darker, right? So the colour of whiskey is an interesting thing, because sometimes it tells you some interesting information, especially if you don't know about the whiskey in a blind tasting. It's a good indicator, mostly of the cask type. So a slightly sort of redder hue can indicate more European oak, maybe some sherry cask, maybe a port cask. A slightly more yellowy hue is going to give you more of a bourbon cask. The darker, theoretically, the older. But, as most of you will know, not all whiskey is naturally coloured. There might be some fake colouring in there. So you can't necessarily judge the whiskey by its colour.
Well, so far from what I'm smelling, I like the smell of number 2 better. So far.
Yeah, fair.
So far.
It's always an interesting thing. So in these kind of tournaments, the best whiskey doesn't necessarily win. As anyone who follows World Cup soccer knows, the best team doesn't always win in these kind of tournaments. England is definitely the best team in the world, always has been, yet we've only won 1 World Cup. I jest about England, of course. I know we're not the best. We're generally not even close. But the premise still stands. Sometimes in this kind of one-on-one tournament, you might get a mix-up where the best whiskey is not necessarily the favourite of a pairing. It has different strengths and weaknesses compared to what it's up against. And you get some really interesting results. So I will show you the results of what the tasting panel yesterday came up with. But we also want to see how close Norm gets to the general theory. I'll also tell you the scores, because everyone that tasted them yesterday scored these whiskies. And interestingly enough, the winner of the tournament wasn't actually the highest scoring.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe Norm will actually pick the highest scoring whiskey. Wouldn't that be a twist?
I like number 1 on this one.
You like number 1?
I find it very sweet, this one.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to be as impartial as possible, so to not sway Norm's decisions here.
Yeah, so I put number 1 on the track here, right?
Absolutely, that's exactly right. So we'll update the graphic as well. Number 1 has moved on to the next round. And for those for a little background for Norm as well, so Norm is a great representative here for someone who's interested in the idea of whiskey, but isn't particularly knowledgeable or experienced in whiskey.
Yes.
He likes it. And he's, would you consider yourself a bit of a newbie?
I'm for sure a newbie.
Yeah.
100% newbie.
So a great representation of whiskey just from a consumer level rather than a geeky out, caring about the intricate details level. It's simply which one does the average person like? And this is our average Norm. Yeah.
That's perfect.
He is the norm.
I'm the norm.
Yeah. Oh, you're no longer Norm the IT guy on the channel. You are just the norm.
I can handle that.
All right, so number 2 is knocked out. Do you want to find out what number 2 was?
Sure.
All right. So number 2 is no longer in the tournament. It is Kilbeggan Rye. So weirdly enough, this is a rye whiskey, a style of whiskey which is most prominently thought of in the North Americas. Here in Canada, of course, we're very famous for our rye. America was pretty much the first place to really start making whiskey out of rye because of German farmers moving to the North Americas, and they've got a good history of rye. Rye grows really well over here. Of course, corn does it well, and that would overtake as a style of whiskey eventually. But it's made it back to the old world now. Scotland and Ireland have started making rye. This is, I think, the first ever rye whiskey, full-on rye whiskey made in Ireland. It's beautiful. I love Kilbeggan. They're a great brand. Established in 1757, so they're a really big traditional brand. Their distillery was out of commission for a long time. It recently got refurbished and reopened. I believe it's still powered by the original water wheel, which is kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
But they make a bunch of different styles of whiskey over there. So yeah, Kilbeggan Rye. And that is 6122 available right now at strathliquor.com while stocks last. And of course, if you're watching this within a week or two of this video airing, it is being featured because... Of course it is. This is the Dram Association. That's what we do. We feature whiskies. We put them on discount, so it's 10% off. So you can take $6 off of there. It's about $55. Not a bad whiskey for $55, eh?
No.
Yeah. Got knocked out in the first round, but there's no shame in that.
Well, you can't win them all, right?
Exactly.
This one has number 3 has a very dirt-smelling.
Dirt. Nice. I love a good dirty whiskey.
It smells a little dirt to me. So I'm going for smell number 4 over 3. That's very mild. The number 3 is very smooth.
A word, again, I tend to not use smooth much because it's one of those words in whiskey that means different things to different people. But it is a word commonly associated with the Irish style of whiskey.
It's 3.
It's 3. 3 is moving on.
Number 4 has a little bit of a bite.
Nice. Yeah.
It clears the nose, number 4.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. But this one is very mild. I don't know if that's a good thing in whiskey, but this one is very...
It depends what you're looking for. Like, that's one of the best things about whiskey is that every whiskey is someone's favorite. There's objectively very little bad whiskey that gets put into a bottle.
Yeah, number 3 on this one.
All right. So number 4 has been knocked out, and number 4 is J.J. Corey's The Hanson. So this is a really unique style of whiskey. This is a blended grain whiskey from Ireland. So that means it's from more than one distillery, but it only contains grain whiskey, no malt whiskey. And because it's Ireland, it also means there's no pot still whiskey in there as well. So in Ireland, there's 3 designations of whiskey that can be created. Grain, malt, pot still. In Scotland, there's only grain and malt, so they complicate things a little more in Ireland with their pot still style whiskey. So yeah, this is at least 2 distilleries blended together. And it's a relatively new style of whiskey in general. The first ever blended grain whiskey in Scotland only came about in the year 2000, and that was Compass Box's Hedonism. So yeah, it's a relatively new idea. I think it's quite cool. It's quite different. It's quite a unique flavor. It's I found it to be a little bit sort of like a herbal furniture polish almost. Like there's a...
Yes.
There's a slight sort of chemicaliness to it. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in a bad way, in a sort of a weird, sort of clean way.
You nailed it. That's exactly... There is a chemically... Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm zooming in. I've got one of these smartwatches, and I think my denim jacket just decided it wanted to zoom in. Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
I'm gonna keep that in. That's funny.
What is hilarious. The SCTV...
He's doing it again.
3D hustle pancakes.
I'm gonna have to change my my wrist setup here. All right, there we go. Let's stop the weird zooming.
Dr.
All right,
Tongues.
So yes, JJ Corey, the Hanson, is available in store right now, 108.61. So if you're a fan of things like the Hedonism, if you're a fan of interesting grain whiskies in general, this is quite the whiskey. Yeah. All right. We're on to the grey division now. We've done the blue division. We're on to the grey. Let's see number
5
5
and
versus
6.
6. Yeah.
Now, these two have the most color.
Absolutely, yeah.
This one is the darkest one in the pile, and this one is a very nice gold to it. Gold color to it. I like the look of it. Oh, this one smells like candies.
Love a candy.
This one has a nice candy. Interesting. I'm not sure how to put that one.
What time of day would you drink that?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is the morning.
A morning. It's a breakfast dram. Funnily enough, I was just reading a thing the other day. I can't remember where. But someone was visiting. I think it was either Dublin or Belfast, and they were staying at a hotel there. Must have been Belfast. They're staying at a hotel there, and they had a build your own porridge bar. Where you scoop your porridge, and you got all the different toppings there. And one of the toppings that you could help yourself to was just a bottle of Bushmills just sat there.
Why not?
Bottle of Irish single malt, just pour a little on your porridge. It was the Bushmills 10, I think, as well, which is kind of cool.
See, that's you won't see that in Canada.
Can you imagine if we had our breakfast buffet set up again? We don't do breakfast at our hotel anymore since the pandemic. But if we had just a bottle of whiskey just sat there, we had enough problem trying to keep the homeless population out of our breakfast buffet in the first place. If we had that, it'd be bedlam. Whew. All right.
Number 5.
Number 5. This one kind of comes down to whether you like smoke or not, right? Because 6 is quite peated.
Yes.
Quite heavily peated, actually, I would say. Again, 6 has that bit of a slight chemically kind of a flavour. 5's just very clean. Like, very approachable. Morning time is a great description for this whiskey, because it's very... like, it's inoffensive.
Exactly.
Yeah, in pretty much every way.
And that's a weird pairing, because this one I find to be very on the harsh side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, for me, the first thing that popped into my mind is like the smell of exhaust fumes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I get that. All right, well, let's find out. Number 5 has moved on to the next round. Number 6 has been eliminated. And we've got all the odd numbers moving on to the next round so far. It's kind of fun. Number 6 is Seven Seals. This is the peated single malt portwood finish, Seven Seals. Really weird whiskey, this one. So it's distilled in Ireland, matured there for 3 years, and then it is bulk transported to Switzerland, where a retired inventor has made it a little bit of a retirement project to invent a rapid maturation technique, which involves like hermetically sealed rooms and changing the temperature and the air pressure and everything to simulate seasons changing, all kinds of balmy science shit to try and rapidly age it. It's already 3 years old, so it's already a whiskey. It's not one of those rapidly aged whiskeys, which is 6 months in a tiny cask with wood chips in it, and it tastes like an ashtray. This is actually a decent whiskey. It's a good whiskey. It's a really good whiskey that has just been sort of tinkered with. Interesting thing, and this was information that I think I got from the local rep. The guy the inventor that did this, his claim to fame, his invention, was he was the inventor of the absorbent layer in Pampers and Huggies diapers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is diaper whiskey in a sense. Really unique one. I didn't know where to put this on the shelf, whether to put this in Irish whiskey or in world whiskey, because it kind of straddles the line a bit. But it is available in store and online. It is $99.04 before your discount, so about $90 after your 10% off. Interesting, eh? Yeah, it's a weird one.
There's always a nice story behind these.
Yeah. All right, 7 versus 8. The final pairing of the first round.
Is this the most clear one? Or is this one?
Yeah, I think 3 might be the lightest, eh?
Yeah, this one is pretty close to the... Oh. This sort of reminds me of vegetable smell.
Vegetables, nice.
Like a vegetable of some sort?
One of the flavors that came up in the tasting yesterday was those little packets of chocolate-covered raisins, like the glossettes, including the cardboard.
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's like subliminal when you say that, but I can definitely taste like a raisin. It does, yeah. I don't know if that's subliminal for me because I'm not very much of a note person to really describe it.
Well, not everyone, but most people have the ability to taste things. It's a little bit harder to put words to those flavors. So sometimes you can do it on your own. Sometimes you just need to hear someone else say it to be like, oh yeah, no, yeah, that's it. That is right.
Yeah, I lack the vocabulary maybe because I just...
That's all right. You can be my backup. You can confirm or deny ones that I say.
Ooh, this one has a punch to it.
Sure does.
Number 8 has
tinge of sweetness on the very finish. Do you get like a maple flavor?
Yeah, it is. That's strong. Ooh.
That ain't a breakfast whiskey, eh?
No. Number 7 on that one.
Number 7's going through. So all the odd numbers.
Yeah. 1, 3, 5, and 7.
1, 3, 5, and 7. All right. Well, let's see what number 7 was. This is the next to be eliminated. Sorry, no. Number 7's the one that's going through. I'm getting myself backwards.
7's going through.
7's
8's eliminated.
8's eliminated. All right. There we go. 8 is 2 Stacks. 2 Stacks Smoke and Mirrors Maple Syrup Stout Finish Cask Strength Single Malt. A vatting of peated and Imperial Oatmeal Stout Cask Aged Malts. 56.4%. So yeah, this is cask strength, and that's why it's getting a bit more bite for you. Yeah. And this is the perfect example of cask strength isn't necessarily for everyone. A lot of people only like cask strength. They only go for it. Some people prefer to not have to worry about maybe adding water or having their nose hairs singed, really interesting company, 2 Stacks. One of their big claims to fame is they actually have a product called Dram in a Can, and we actually sell that in the store. Little whiskeys in a can. Yeah.
I asked questions about that yesterday in the liquor store.
Yeah. Cool, cute little things, eh? They're a blending company. They use sourced whiskies. They don't distill it themselves, but they actually have a makeup on the back of exactly what goes in here. So 30% of this is a peated malt that is triple distilled and aged in bourbon casks. 60% is a stout malt, which is a triple distilled single malt finished in an imperial oatmeal stout cask. And then 10% is a double distilled single malt aged in first fill bourbon casks. And then they vat that together and age it for a little bit longer in a Dot Brewing Company's ex-maple syrup stout cask. So there's a lot of like beer cask influence going on this one, which is kind of cool. And perfect for St Paddy's Day with the stout finish. Yeah, very unique, very interesting. I would say, in my mind, the most complex of the whiskies in front of us, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Some people don't look for complexity. But yeah, really unique whiskey.
Yeah, especially for a noob, I like simplicity.
So this is $140.78. $140.78 before the discount. So what's that, about $126 after you got your 10% off? Available right now, strathliquor.com. All right.
Very cool. So now I take it these two go head to head.
Exactly. So now we're looking at 1 versus 3. This is the first of the semi-final pairings. This is 1. This is 3.
I really like number 1. Every time I pick it up.
Yeah, number 1 is good.
Yep.
Those 3. They're all good. It's whiskey.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I'm finding myself today that I actually, now having tasted all 8, I have a different favourite today than I did yesterday.
Yeah, I guess it's all about what kind of mood you're in.
Oh, very much so. When you buy a bottle of whiskey, say you've got 26 ounces of whiskey, you've actually got 26 completely different experiences. What you've eaten and drunk before it will change your experience. What mood you're in changes the experience. The temperature changes the experience. Who you're drinking it with can change the experience.
Yep. It's very
just
open for interpretation.
Sat here drinking whiskey with a friend on camera is a very different experience than standing in front of a crowd and, managing a whole group of people. So there's a slightly more relaxed atmosphere for me. So maybe I'm looking for something a little bit more a little bit more complex and chewy for myself.
Yeah.
For yourself, you're probably this is your Friday. You're looking forward to a weekend. You just want to relax into it. You want something nice and simple and smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's number one.
It's number one going through. All right.
One is really the
Really
nose on it. Yeah, the nose on it. Everything about this one I really like. It's
nice. So 3 has been eliminated, correct?
Yes.
Good. All right. So number 3 is. Ooh, one's fallen over. That's fine. This is Egan's Odyssey. Yeah. A bit of a weird one because it doesn't seem to say anywhere on the bottle, as far as I can tell, what style of whiskey this is. All it says is Irish whiskey. So we don't know if this is a grain, a malt, a blend, a pot still. No clue. It's just Irish. The funny thing about it as well is it's very locally significant. There's not much information on the internet about this specific version of Egan's whiskey because this was actually finished in a beer cask from a Vancouver brewery called Brew Hall. This is finished in a imperial stout cask. So again, playing in with that Paddy's Day stout thing. Not Guinness, but similar. It's an imperial stout cask made by a local brewery here in BC in Vancouver called Brew Hall. Quite interesting, yeah?
I like it.
Yeah, 46%, 92 proof. Great little dram. Got a couple of those sort of darker cocoa-y kind of notes because of that cask influence. It's available $139.04, so what's $14 off of $140? Oh, math. About $126. Yeah, it's almost the same price as the last whiskey we revealed. So yeah, about $126 for this really unique, locally significant mystery Irish whiskey. Not quite sure what style it is. I would hazard to say it's probably blend. I think it's complex enough that it has some grain and malt notes in there. But apart from that, no clue. All right. The final pairing of the semi-finals. We've got 5 versus 7.
I wonder, are they going to be able to beat number 1 off? Because I'm really liking number 1. Number 5 is very nice. This one has a little bit of a bite.
Yep.
I'm thinking I'm going to take number 5.
5's going through.
All 5 is going through.
So it's the top line is proceeding. You made a nice little pattern here. You made like a W shape. That's nice. All right, so that means that 7 has been eliminated, and 7 is the one I almost showed you a couple of minutes ago. This is Hyde. So Hyde is another independent bottler for Irish whiskey. They don't distill. They source whiskey from other people. They don't generally say where it's from. But this is a single malt from Hyde that has been matured in a sherry cask. They have different editions. This is number 7. Every edition comes with a year that they think is significant to the flavour. So this is 1893. Something to do with the sherry cask maturation, I guess. You can find out more online. 46% sherry cask single malt. It's the style of whiskey you might be more familiar with from a Scottish perspective. It's more of a Speyside Highland style of whiskey. Yeah, good wee dram.
Good.
This one's 101.22, so about $90 after your 10% discount. Available right now, stratliquor.com. Yeah.
Excellent.
If you like sherry, you like single malts, and you want to support the Irish for a day, well, not for a day. Ireland's not just for a day; it's a lifetime dedication.
Definitely.
All right. So the grand final, we have 1 versus 5.
I don't know. Right now, 1 is taking the lead for me. I really like the smell, the taste of 1. I'm not sure. Why is it knocking it out of the park? No matter how many sips I take out of it, it agrees with me. Number 1. This is a close.
Now, I'd say 5 is a little bit lighter and fruitier. 1's a little bit sort of more grain influence, a little bit spicier.
Oh, it's tough. That's a tough match.
You need a coin to flip. I can find one.
I'm going for number 1. edged out just a little bit from number 5.
Number 1?
Number 1 is my winner, I think.
Number 1's the winner. All right. Well, number 5, then, is being revealed. And that is... Jameson. Yeah. This whiskey is very important. And I hear a lot of people joking about Jameson in the same way that people joke about things like Johnny Walker Red Label of, it's a beginner whiskey, it's rubbish, it's the bottom shelf. Pay respect to your elders, people. This is a very influential and very important whiskey, as is Johnny Walker Red Label. In fact, I would say that this is single-handedly the whiskey that saved Irish whiskey. Back in the year 2000, there was only 3 distilleries left in Ireland.
Really?
Yeah. And Irish whiskey basically was on the way down. It was failing. Jameson is the whiskey that turned that around. It became easy to make, mass-produced because of the grain whiskey influence in this. This is a blend, so it's got grain and malt in it. Became really... cost-effective to make a large amount of it. They made a really good, consistent product, shipped it around the world, marketed it well, and it pretty much just saved Irish whiskey. So, thank you, Jameson. We owe you one. Because of you, we've been able to have all of these other incredible whiskies that have popped up since.
And hey, as a beginner, I like it. I like it a lot. I would buy that.
Yeah. And it's only, I've lost my little post-it note, but it's about $40, so like $36 or something with a 10% discount. So it's available at pretty much every bar as well. It's one of the, if any bar has only one Irish whiskey, there is a solid 95% chance it's going to be Jameson. Right? Yeah. A classic coming in second.
A classic.
You love to see it. All right, but number 1.
What is number 1?
Number 1. Ooh. This is I'm really happy that this one became number 1 on your little lineup, because I love this whiskey and I love this story, and you can find out more about this story in one of my last videos. This is Buska.
Oh yeah,
you just watched the video with the grain.
Yes.
So we had a video about the Buska single grain, which is available to sample right now in our store. This is the single malt version from Buska. So yeah, unique distillery. It's designed specifically by Disaronno to pair with Disaronno in the cocktail called The Godfather. This is their single malt version. Yeah, again, really good value. This is $48.61 normally, so with 10% off, that's like $44.
And only 44. Maybe it's the lower alcohol percentage that draws me to it.
Maybe so. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people who want, seasoned whiskey veterans who have had their taste buds burnt off and need cast strength to be able to taste anything, prefer the lower alcohol stuff because it's a little easier on the palate. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, this is Royal Oak Distillery, is the distillers of Buska, so it's not sourced. This is actually a single malt official bottling. The people that made it are the same people that put it in a bottle and branded it and sell it. Yeah, I'm super happy for them that this was your winner. So this is the official best whiskey from Ireland, according to
this kid.
According to formerly Norm the IT guy, now just the Norm.
The Norm. Very interesting.
What was the best one overall, do you think? What do you think the crowd might have picked? Do you think you nailed it? Do you think you got exactly the same as the crowd?
I doubt it.
Well, I'll pull it up.
Like you said, if you're a seasoned whiskey person, like I like to consider myself a seasoned licorice eater. Nice. I eat licorice. I love black licorice, and if you give me Twizzlers, they're good.
Yeah.
But I like the triple salt, super strong licorice.
Yeah, and that is definitely a flavor profile that is not for everyone.
Exactly.
All right, so there you go, Norm, and I'm putting this on the screen for you guys to see right now. This is how it went yesterday. So as you can see, Buska got knocked out in the first round. In fact, it was the exact opposite in the first round. Yeah.
Oh, number 6 won.
Number 6 ended up winning, yeah.
Oh, that didn't even make my past.
In the so this was about 30 people that decided as a group on this outcome. And yeah, all of the odd numbers got knocked out in the first round, whereas for Norm, all of the odd numbers are the ones that went through.
And I could see, because this one for me is number 6 is the strongest of the strongest flavor.
Yeah.
And that's the peated one. That's the one that smells like exhaust to me.
Fair.
And yeah, that just goes to show, once you get more involved with the whiskey, you want more of that flavor, it becomes more common to you. And maybe a newbie needs a little bit less flavor.
Maybe so, yeah. And although I have to admit, one thing that this chart doesn't really portray is how close it was for some of these matchups. Jameson and the eventual winner, the Seven Seals Portwood, it was a tie. It was a straight-up tie that then ended up going to a tiebreaker. And how we did the tiebreaker is every single person had a raffle ticket, and we drew one name, and their choice decided it for the room. So, yeah, it was Jameson almost beat the eventual winner. Which is kind of wild.
That's a pretty crazy matchup, 6-2.
Yeah, yeah.
Because 6 is really...
It's different, right? It's more like Canadian whiskey.
It's a really big flavor profile, while 2 is not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. But
that's interesting.
Which one actually got the highest score?
I gotta say I don't know, the peated one, because I don't think I would put my money on the peated one would get the highest score, because a lot of people like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is my guess.
So interestingly enough, what was scored the lowest was actually your winner.
Really?
Yeah, and that shocked me as well. I thought the Busco was lovely. It wasn't my least favourite by any stretch of the imagination. Scored 84.29. It was fresh and floral. I'll put the final results up on the screen for you here. Kilbeggan. Number 2, that got 87.14. It was a fruity and spicy whiskey profile. Egan's got 89.78, again fruity and spicy. The JJ Corey, the blended grain, got 88.62, fresh and floral. Jameson got 89.12, almost 90 points for Jameson. Like, that is an incredible showing for a whiskey that is, absolutely everywhere and often is the butt of jokes, to be frank. Seven Seals, number 6, the winner of the tournament for the group, smoky and earthy, of course, and it was 93.17. Hyde, 1893, got 90.02, so that was a good showing, just over 90, so slightly better than Jameson, apparently. And Two Stacks, number 8, was the overall winner at 93.62.
Really?
Yeah, number 8 actually won the score. I should note that not everyone submitted a score. The scoring sheets at the tasting are optional. Some people aren't comfortable scoring a whiskey in that way. We do ask people to try and be objective. So if you don't like smoke, don't just say it's a bad whiskey just because you don't like smoke. So it was a smaller group that decided those scores. But yeah, in the end, number 8 won. So we've got 3 winners out of this. So the best whiskey in Ireland, depending on who you ask, could be Busca. It could be the Seven Seals, or it could end up being the Two Stacks. So, at the end of the day, the only thing we've really learned is the best whiskey is the one that you personally like. There is no such thing as the best Irish whiskey.
No.
You just have to find out, drink as many different ones as you're able to, and find out which you prefer. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been great to present this little St Patrick's Day special with our very special guest, The Norm.
Loved it.
Should we get him back? Yeah? All right.
Yes, please.
Comment if you want Norm back. If I don't get any comments, he's banned for life.
No.
You can comment yourself, though. You've got your own account.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All my sock puppets come in.
Perfect. Well, I don't often say this, but I'm with a seasoned YouTuber now, so I feel like I have to prove that I am also a YouTuber. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. /Shabar.